perfectly fine. Get a little check engine light flash every once in a while, comes and goes. Still some little bugs I need to work out, but the car works. Engine's not gone, engine's not done, and it was over one simple bolt. Well, it was really a few bolts, but one mainly that kept it down for so long. So it started from the beginning. So no, it was not the starter. I thought the starter was locking the engine up. That wasn't the case. It wasn't hydro locked, pulled all the plugs. That wasn't the case. So I had to go back and think. At the time, I don't want to say I gave up, because I don't really give up, but I wanted the brake. When I saw the engine was locked up, when I tried to turn it, I was like, all right, we'll leave it alone. We'll come back to it later. And over the brake, I didn't touch it for maybe 2 solid weeks at least. Didn't even look at it. And over that brake, I had a mental thought of what was the last thing I did. So if you guys remember telling you, I had the car in the air. I started the car. I was trying to fix an oil leak. I had a big oil leak going into the pan, and it was that bottom fitting. And so I changed that. Power steering leak, I changed that too. And then when I went to go start the car up again, it's like it wouldn't start. Engine was locked. And then I tried to crank it by hand, and it wouldn't lock. I mean, it wouldn't move. So what happened was, I guess I didn't really think about it immediately. I guess I was going through a lot, you know, had a lot on my mind, just this and that. And what happened was, first, let me give you a little flashback to this part right here. Harmonic balancer. This is super easy. That goes right there in the front.
Right here?
Yep, right there in the middle. Now the harmonic balancer is also the pulley for the AC, but we're not running AC. So Jenny, come get your AC unit, because I don't need it, because I'd rather have boost.
It is not a 10.
That is the AC pulley. That goes on front of the crank pulley. Now that AC pulley, as you can see, now I'm not blaming Sam, definitely wasn't Sam's fault, but when Sam tightened it down, that was my little 3/8 impact gun. Is not that strong. It only does like 15-20 pounds. I don't know what the torque specs of that is, but it probably wasn't torqued that well with that gun. Just a little couple, you know, that's it. And those bolts started to back out, and it made my AC pulley wobble. Not the crank pulley, just the AC pulley. So I said, okay, I'm going to take that off. So I took the bolts out, took the AC pulley off, and put the bolts back. I didn't realize those bolts were too long. So those bolts not welded, but they wedged against the engine block, and that stopped the whole crank from turning. I mean, I couldn't start it, obviously, and then I even tried to push start it, and I think that's where it gave me a little bit more problems. We'll talk about it in a second. But I even tried to push start it, and that didn't work either. So I kind of had that thought, like, I did take that AC pulley off. I wonder if those bolts are too long. But even then, when I had the thought, I was like, I'm gonna take my break, not touching the car for a while. So I didn't touch it. And my glove box keeps firing. I lost my button, so I gotta find my button or something. So with those long bolts, someone even messaged me on Instagram. I can't remember who it was, but someone asked me. It was only one person. One person actually came up with that idea, and I already had that thought in my head, so I kind of pre-answered his question. So he asked me, he said, "Where's the AC pulley?" I said, he said, "Where's the AC pulley? Those bolts might," he said, "Where's the AC pulley?" I said, "Yeah, I took it off. Those bolts are too long, aren't they?" And he said, "Yeah, they might be. Take those off and see what happens." So even then, even with that information, I kind of figured that was the problem. Again, just wanted to enjoy my break. I concentrated on drifting, and I had a lot of fun with that. Worked on Sam's C90, had a lot of fun with that. So I said, okay, now's the time come back. I wanted to clean my garage first, all that type of stuff, and that's what I did. So when I pulled, when I went to go take the bolts out of the crank pulley, they were too long. Since they were wedged against the engine block, they were hard to get out. I got all but one out, and that head snapped off in the crank, in the crank hub, in the crank pulley. So not in the crank pulley, but in the crank hub. It's behind the pulley. So after that, I pulled the crank pulley off, and I could see on the hub, and I could see behind the hub that bolt was literally touching the engine block. So it was at the highest point, so I couldn't twist it with the pliers. So I had to take a Sawzall, and I cut it in half. Right after I cut it in half, I tried to crank the engine, went around and around and went. So I was like, wow, all of a sudden, this whole time was because of one bolt, one simple mistake. Now, I'm not the only person that made that mistake, because after I found that out, I put that on my Instagram story, tried to update everybody, because, you know, millions of people ask me what's going on with the car and all that stuff. So I updated that on Instagram, and quite a few people told me they've done that same exact thing. A lot of people, they do swaps, they do motor swaps, and they think, well, I'm not using AC, so I don't need the AC pulley. I didn't know I needed the AC pulley. The only reason I put it on there because it looked cool, because it was brand new. I ordered it brand new, and when I took it off, like most people do, well, not most, but some people do when they do a swap, they put the bolts in there and they realize, okay, now the car doesn't start, and I don't know what's going on. And it turns out to be the damn crank pulleys. I will gap you, son. Some Challenger over there being a fool. So after I snapped the head off of the bolt, that's where the fun started. Cut the back off in half. I couldn't grab it with pliers to get it out of there, but at least I knew what the problem was. So I had to try to drill out the bolt, but the bolt is like a 10.9 grade bolt. So every drill bit I used was not really working. So I mean, I broke like, I don't know, 10, not 10, maybe like 5 or 6 drill bits just trying to drill that thing out. I mean, shout out to Jacob, because Jacob, he actually got me he let me borrow his 90-degree drill bit, because you couldn't fit anything under there. I had to put the the E-fan, had to lift that up and trying to give me some room on the bottom, which gave me just enough room for that 90-degree thing. But even still, that bolt it took a while. It took a long time. So it was like I worked on it for a couple hours trying to get that bolt out, not having luck, trying to figure out like how to twist it out with a Phillips and all these other types of stuff. Now I know I have the option to weld a nut on there, but I don't have a welder. I've never welded in my life. I didn't want to take a chance trying it, because if I miss, then I got a whole list of other problems. The other option was to take the entire front end of the car off, but that would have been a pain in the ass too. And another option was to actually remove the crank bolt, but I didn't want to do that either, because the crank bolt is 305 foot-pounds. I don't have anything strong enough to get that loose and tighten it. So I don't have a torque wrench of 300 foot-pounds. So that would have been a pain in the ass. So I just kept on drilling. I would try like 30 minutes here, try again in a few days. I wasn't in a rush, you know. Like I said, I just enjoyed the break, and it was just, eventually it came out, and I put all the bolts back, put it back with a little bit of Loctite, with the orange Loctite that, you know, that helps with vibration, so hopefully they won't come loose again. But that's literally what it was. It was just one little bolt. That's it. Well, 6 bolts, but it was one bolt that made it stay down even longer. If it was just pull those 6 bolts out and call it a day, then that would have been a whole lot easier than doing everything. But that's it. It runs. And it runs. And it runs well. Now, I don't know, maybe because I haven't driven it in a while, but it feels a little bit faster than the last time I drove it. Now, last time I did dyno it was June. It was hot, super hot. It's feels pretty good right now. We're getting close to hoodie weather, so it feels really good. But just want to let you, that was my update. I'm about to go to a friend's birthday party now, so well, yeah, I just want to give you guys an update. Car is back. We'll get some content going on this thing, and I'm glad that's all it was, because I missed it. I mean, if worst case scenario, if I had to do a whole another engine, then it would have happened eventually, but one bolt was a little bit easier than a whole engine swap. So so we are back, guys. Thanks for watching. Deuces. Put one more gear. I will see you in the next one. We back, baby.